words about the European Wergeland Center. Some of you might know, for some of you it might be new, but European Wergeland Center is a resource center on education for intercultural understanding, human rights, and democratic citizenship. Our work builds on Council of Europe recommendations and policies, such as the Charter on Education for Democratic Citizenship and Human Rights Education, which was developed to make sure that the values of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law are promoted in and through education. European Wergeland Center main aim is to strengthen the capacity of individuals, educational institutions, and educational systems to build and sustain a culture of democracy and human rights. We were established by the Council of Europe and Norway in 2008 and serve all 46 member states. European Wergeland Center is governed by a board composed of representatives of the Council of Europe and Norway. Our main office is in Oslo, Norway, but we are also working in many different countries. Today, we have few representatives of the Wergeland Center. They are coming from Ukraine and also Greece. But about today's event, artificial intelligence or AI is steadily growing in use in many areas of life. We often use this technology without even realizing it. Recommendations and suggestions from video streaming services like YouTube or Netflix. User authentication on smartphones, fingerprints or face recognition, conversation with virtual assistants, Siri, Alexa, Google Assistants, and various chatbots. We rely on weather forecasts, navigation tools, predictive typing on a phone or Google search, all of which rely on artificial intelligence technologies to provide best services. So many of our decisions are influenced and even dictated by algorithms that it is important to understand how this technology works and to make sure that we are not misguided by it. Artificial intelligence has significant potential to help solve challenging problems by replicating the process happening in the human mind. To put it simply, machines learn from provided examples to recognize patterns, distinguish objects, categorize them, and create predictions based on observed trends. However, what is the impact of artificial intelligence to education process? Moreover, how teachers are facing this challenge? These were the guided questions for us when we've been thinking to organize this webinar. And I have a great pleasure today to have on board Janice Richardson. Janice, today she is in Morocco, Rabat, but Janice is advisor to governments, international institutions, and industry on digital transformation in education and the protection of children's rights. Her background is in education, law, and instructional design, and she is founder, director of a Luxembourg-based company, Insight, that strives to empower children worldwide through education. Janice is author and co-author of more than a dozen books, including the Internet Literacy Handbook and the Digital Citizenship Education Handbook, which is produced by the Council of Europe. Also, she is a co-author of the Promoting Global Citizenship Education in the Digital Age that is produced by UNESCO. Janice is our first speaker today. And Janice, please turn on your camera and share with us your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And maybe I'm going to turn off my camera very shortly because perhaps you're not aware, but internet connection is not always great in Morocco. So if I have a doubt, I will turn off my camera. Anyway, you have my slides, so you can go ahead and show what I have to say. It's really great to be here with you all because this really is a subject close to my heart. First of all, education, but also artificial intelligence. With the shutdown of schools in many countries back in 2021, the face of education totally changed. Even the most reluctant were forced to adopt, and for the most part, this was through digital technology. Much of this was AI assisted, just as many of the digital platforms we use in our everyday life are assisted in one way or another. So, what exactly is AI, or artificial intelligence by machines, especially computer systems? Whenever a program uses natural language processing, speech recognition, or machine vision, you can be pretty sure that AI is in play. We can imagine it as a sort of a space where computer science and robust data sets are put together to enable problem solving. Of course, very simply put, it can do things that we used to think of as mainly human activities, such as learning, reasoning, problem solving, and perception. And I did send my slides. Perhaps, Bojana, you can begin with the first slide. And if there is any doubt about the connection, I switch off my camera.
We can hear you quite well and see you, and your presentation is on. We are on the slide number 2.
Super. So when we look at the opportunities, yes, it sounds great. Personalized learning, automation of repetitive tasks, overcoming physical and other access barriers. And that is extremely important when we're talking about human rights. Also, customized data-based feedback, I say with a question at the end. Overview of the vulnerabilities of the groups we're working with, reduction of the skill gap, 24/7 personalized assistance, but also the exploratory abilities and the creation of smart content. Well, I'm sure, like me, you have your doubts about some of these. Way back when we had learning management systems, for example, unfortunately, AI was based on pretty poor, almost Pavlovian type psychology. Praise, punishment, praise, punishment. Also, how can it really give customized feedback? We really need teachers to understand the learner, to understand all aspects of the learner, because as we know, what the learner is responding is certainly not the whole picture. If we moved on to the next slide, we have a very good definition here from UNICEF, but in fact, it's now been embraced by OECD. AI refers to machine-based systems that can, given a set of human-defined objectives, make predictions, recommendations, or decisions that influence real or virtual environments. AI systems interact with us and act on our environment, either directly or indirectly. Often they appear to operate autonomously and can adapt their behavior, learning about the context. Now you see that I've underlined many things here, and this is where I think we really need to reflect deeply about AI. Human-defined objectives, but who is defining these objectives? Are they really the teachers with the psychology behind them to be able to understand learners' objectives? And learners' objectives change all the time. Can machines really help us in this regards? Next, predictions, which is an area that really worries me. On which data sets? What algorithms? Do we really know where the predictions are coming from? And can you really predict what will happen with learners who in my 50 years or so in education always show me surprises. You can never quite predict what's going to happen, and a teacher has to be ready to jump in and benefit from the window of opportunity. Then we get decisions that influence real or virtual environment. Once again, whose decision, and how can we let machines really influence our environment, the environment we want to learn in? AI systems interact with us, and this is an area of concern also. We see enough of young people interacting with machines. The human element is so important, acting on our environment, but from a data set, which really doesn't give the whole picture. And finally, they can adapt their behavior by learning about the context. Yes, but with limits. So I'm not here to say no AI in education. I'm here to say that list of 6 elements for me is so important. If we go to the next slide, I find this very interesting. When I look at, this comes from the World Economic Forum, and you can probably go in and have a little play with it yourself, because I think that it raises areas that we really need to think about when we're using AI in the operationalizing responsible AI. We have to think about the geopolitical impacts of AI. Can AI overcome its limitations? The future of jobs, if all repetitive tasks can be overtaken by AI, what is going to happen to people who, because of their very specific needs, rely on doing repetitive tasks for their work? Diversity and inclusion. We can never focus enough on this. And at the Council of Europe, this is an extremely important area when we talk about digital citizenship. So AI for what purpose? I think that's the question that I have to ask ourselves. And what sort of bias can come in? How can we ensure that the algorithms behind the AI we're using are really fair? If you go into this slide, and you may want to go and check it out for yourself, I find the top half, say from 11 o'clock through to 3 points that we should all think about. The social protection when we use AI, the values, whose values? Can industry really put across its own values, and what role are teachers playing in developing AI? Systemic racism, we've seen many examples of that. Is this economic progress? And what about our digital identity when so much data is being taken from me to develop these algorithms? People-centric, for me, this is essential. Mobility, yes, it can help us. And then we have various areas that we need to think about. And I know you're going to talk about science and data science further today. Human rights, we must never forget them. It must be at the heart of everything we do. Justice and the law, the global health, mental health. We should also think about sustainability. Have you thought about the great amount of energy that AI uses? And entrepreneurship, new opportunities, new challenges. If we go on to the next slide, let's place human rights at the heart of education. What do we get? Well, we get diversity and inclusion, people-centric. We're looking for economic participation, active community participation for all. But we need very safe spaces for speaking out. And I'm sure those people from Ukraine, and I don't know if we've got any Chinese with us, this is so essential. How, if we use too much AI, do we provide these safe spaces for speaking out? Accountability of us all us who use AI in the classroom, but also those who create AI. And as I said, sustainability, is it really the way forward? If we go on to the next slide, it's important to think about 21st literacy. What is it? Well, it's collaboration and it's communication. And do AI applications really give us enough possibilities here? Or is it the person and the machine? Creativity. We need to push it as far as go, because on the other side, we see problem solving, and creativity and problem solving go hand in hand. Privacy, I cannot mention it enough. Teach young people to protect their privacy, to think about their privacy. It is our most precious possession. I often talk about resilience, and I'm wondering, really, what can AI do to help our young learners develop resilience? Here, all of these areas on the right side seem so important to me that our teachers are well trained before they start using AI in the classroom. And of course, democracy. I think this is the objective for us all. About 25 years ago, Jacques Delors, one of my idols, in fact, spoke about 21st century education. And he said it must be built on 4 pillars: learning to learn, learning to do, learning to be, and learning to live together. And to my mind, given the very fast turnover of knowledge, those last 2 elements, or the last 3 elements, are extremely important. And at the Council of Europe, they wrap up in what we call the competences for democratic culture: attitudes towards each other, values that underpin everything that we do, and then skills and knowledge. I think that as teachers, we have to keep these 4 pillars in mind and strive whenever we're integrating AI to ensure that we respect the 4 pillars. I hope that the voice was very clear, and now you can see my picture.
Thank you, Janice. Yes, your voice was very clear, and thank you for the presentation. You open up so many interesting questions, but I will first let our audience and participants to give them a floor. Is there any comment or question you would like to raise for Janice after this first part of her presentation? Please go ahead. Either raise your hand or write a question in the chat or comment. You don't have to be very shy. We are in the same spot here, and you can express freely without any problem. Okay, until someone open up the floor. Janice, I will use this opportunity just to share a few key takeaways from your presentation. I loved it, what you said, like all the questions raised and concerns that what is the responsibility by the teachers when developing the AI. What are we bringing in, and are we aware of all the circumstances that we are putting into this? I'm not sure, and I hope that this event today will maybe provide some answers. And also, I love the way you said that AI has to be people-centric, and that education and the human rights must be at the heart of the education. But now my question is how to combine these two, the technology and the huge development that we are facing on. And I'm quite sure that at the moment we are not able to see the whole picture. as a historian, I think that in 100 years from now, the historians will write books about the moment that we are living and all this huge development, but also how we can help teachers to raise the awareness of the responsibility in developing the AI and bringing it to the classroom.
Well, I have great respect for teachers. And I think when they go through their teacher training, when they dedicate so much time for a fairly poor salary, they are people with a conscience. And if they feel that if they're not comfortable with an application in the classroom, then they shouldn't be using it in the classroom. I think you also people-centric, but you are at the center of it. You're the center of your classroom. So the first question for teachers, whenever they're going to use any application, is, am I comfortable with it? The next question to ask is, how can I find out more to see if my feelings are justified, or if really it's not something for the children for whom I have the responsibility? If a teacher in all conscience cannot go ahead asking themselves those two questions, then I would say that particular application is not for them. But I also think we mustn't be scared of the future. There are many things out there. We must keep ourselves informed. Things like ChatGPT, we should go out there and we should try it, and we should see what it's actually doing to the way kids are learning and what we are doing. We need also to be aware of what young people are doing already with the applications they've got. Change the way we're teaching so that they can no longer just cut and paste or ask ChatGPT to give the answer to the question that they're posing as an exam. They need to think about it. Let young people apply their knowledge. The time has gone when we ask them to cite dates, etc. Apply their knowledge. And if they can apply their knowledge meaningfully, and if they use AI or other computer applications to do that, well, then I think we're doing our task as a teacher.
Thank you, Janice. And also we have one question in the chat from Anna Perona. Anna, do you want me to read, or you can? Okay. The question is, Janice, do you think that current applications on AI in education are using the potential to support teachers and schools, or merely focusing on replacing some of the teachers' tasks? Thank you, Anna. Wonderful question.
Thank you. That's a great question. I really think that AI has its place in administration, in those repetitive tasks. We as teachers have far too many administrative tasks, and I think it can help us there. In terms of application, I see that there are very interesting exploratory tasks, exploratory software or applications we can use. There are creative applications. I mean, it's absolutely fabulous when I know that people in my country, Australia, are able to play in a musical group with someone adopted country, Luxembourg. It's fantastic. That is creative. And we couldn't do it before AI. But for me, we must think about those things on the right side. Please do share my presentation. We need to think about the creativity. Is it contributing to the resilience? And if it's not, well, let's try teaching in another way, because as teachers, we know there are many, many different ways, and we know how to adapt them to the children we're teaching. We know our learners. AI doesn't know our learners.
Excellent, thank you. One more question and then we'll continue with the webinar. Next question, Janice, is it's a comment actually. They are turning teachers into learners as well, which is great. Teachers have to be updated, otherwise they're lost. This comment is from Bojka Đukanović from Montenegro. Thank you, Bojka, and we are in constant learning. I think that this age we are living is pushing us somehow to be on the constant move. Thank you for the comment, and thank you, Janice, for your presentation. We will continue. I hope many of you will stay with us. In the next part, we will have a discussion.
May I just say thank you and apologize, because as I am here in Morocco for the launch of the helpline, I must go back to the launch of the helpline. It's been a great pleasure. And if I see any comments coming in, Bojana will send them on to me, and I promise I will answer by email. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, Janice. So if you have some more questions for Janice, please share with us a question, but also your email in the chat so we are able to provide you with the answer. Thank you. In the next part, I have a pleasure to introduce the three great practitioners and researchers and very inspiring people. They are coming from Croatia and Greece. Today, it's a pleasure. I will first start with the ladies, if you allow. We have Dora Kacamori, Ksenia Zuvelu, and Paolo Zenzerovic. Dora is a postdoctoral researcher, Institute of Informatics and Telecommunication of the National Center for Scientific Research, Demokritos in Greece. But also, Dora is a project coordinator for the European Wergeland Center, working on very interesting and inspiring program for integration of refugee and migrant children in Greece. Dora is postdoctoral researcher in the field of citizenship education and inclusion. She has a long-standing experience as a project coordinator and researcher in European and national funded research projects and educator in the field of civic and political education. She is also involved in the field of refugee education in Greece. It's great to have you, Dora, with us today.
Thank you a lot, Bojana. Thank you all. It's such a great pleasure for me being here with you and mainly discuss for such an interesting and really timely topic. It's such a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dora. Wonderful to have you. Then we have Ksenia Zuvelu. Ksenia is a research associate at National Center for Scientific Research, Demokritos, as well as Dora is in Athens, in Greece. Ksenia is also a visiting academic at University of Southampton in the UK and an innovation expert for the European Commission. Ksenia co-chairs the Artificial Intelligence Focus Group of the European Digital SME Alliance and is a member of the Scientific Committee on AI for Insurance of the AI for People, which is connected with Atomion European Institute for Science, Media and Democracy. Ksenia is a member of the Greek Sectoral Scientific Council on AI and Data Policy and has been a working group member for the development of the National AI Strategy for Greece, supporting the democratization of AI in a sustainable way. So much, Ksenia, and inspiring work, I would say. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be with you. It's a great honor to be with you. And I'm really pleased to be part of such a great group and such a great community, all passionate and interested in AI and education and how we can move things forward. So it's my honor to be with you. And thank you for the invitation.
Thanks, Ksenia. It's wonderful to have you. And our final panelist is Paolo Zenzerovic, Head of Operation at the Institute for Youth Development and Innovativity in Croatia. Paolo is a STEM education enthusiast with a formal degree in electrical engineering with research focused on engineering education solutions. He leads the Institute for Youth Development and Innovativity. The acronym in Croatian language is IRIM. And this is a Croatian NGO which has developed and implemented the largest extracurricular STEM program in European Union. This is a Croatian Makers Movement, reaching now listen carefully, 300,000 children in Croatia, with additional projects and partners in Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo, Montenegro, and Switzerland. Paolo, welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a nice opportunity to talk with different experts from different fields. I hope we'll have a good talk from different perspectives.
Excellent. It's wonderful. It's my pleasure to host you today. And I have some question for all of you as just warming up, since you are all expert and I have mentioned AI, artificial intelligence, so many times. So my question is for you as an expert, what AI means for you, how you understand it. Let's say, what is the AI for dummies, if I can say it like that. So maybe we can start with, I don't know, Paolo. How would you answer this question?
Yeah, it's actually a tough question because AI is misinterpreted a lot of times. Everybody just sticks AI to its software, to its solutions. So AI is quite everywhere. But I think it's a key moment just now because up until now we have been using AI as consumers. We had AI all over our applications, our streams, our devices, but always only as consumers. Now in the last year, especially since ChatGPT is out, we are being transformed from using AI in the background and being unaware of it to being widely available for us and transforming us from consumers to creators with AI. So it's creating a real lot of opportunities and also challenges for us to accept this, especially in the field of education.
Thank you, Paolo. Excellent. You open up so many interesting ideas and questions. And Dora, how do you understand the AI?
First of all, I would like to say that I really agree with Paolo that AI is really, really interesting, really well known, like phrase nowadays. And at the same time, I fully adopted the UNICEF definition regarding AI shared by Janice in her presentation. However, if you ask me, I understand AI like that AI refers to machine-based systems that are programmed to function like a human being. And due to this rapid development in AI, inadvertently affects education, which brings opportunities as well as numbers of risks. So for me, nowadays, what is the most important is just the educators that have to be aware of the strengths and weaknesses of AI in learning so as to be empowered and exploit the potential of artificial intelligence for their own benefit. So let's be focused on the benefits instead of the threats, but of course, taking into consideration the threats that there are in our case.
Thank you, Dora. So many interesting insights. And Ksenia, as you are a researcher on the AI, maybe you have a different idea about it. How do you understand it and how do you deal with it?
Well, I should say first of all that I'm doing research as a hybrid kind of researcher combining different fields. So my principal research domain is not computer science, but is computer science among other things and social studies, etc. So I agree with all our speakers, Dora and Paolo, and of course with Janice and the definition that she gave. It is really inclusive. It is very interesting, the question you made, Bojana, because as Paolo said, there is a lot of misconception around AI, and usually we tend not to provide definitions. So what is nice about AI is that everyone talks about it, but there is no unanimous definition of what AI is. So there is a lot of fuss around, even in the context of the AI Act, the upcoming European regulation for AI. There were a lot of discussions around how to define the AI. So there is no one way to define it, really, I would say, as simple as that. From the other side, I could just say that we can consider, when we talk about, say, AI systems, we can simply consider them as software that is programmed in order to perform certain types of tasks that would usually require human intelligence, like Dora said it in a way. Maybe that's learning that is has to do with reasoning. So systems that use data in order to be trained in order to perform certain tasks. Prediction, as you said in the beginning, in your opening, providing recommendations, facilitating decision-making processes with or without humans. For me personally, AI is a very interesting research field that brings along all the different aspects and elements that necessitates new forms of conducting research by integrating and infusing different scientific domains and fields. We need to approach all of this from a holistic approach in order to use it for the best of our interest, for the best of the interest of humankind and the environment, of course.
Thank you, Ksenia, and thank you all. So it's as I see the two major, I would say, channels for it, like in research field, and also how the common people are using it in daily life without even acknowledging that we are using. So how many times have we been in the car driving and the Google Assistant will tell us where to go, even if we know that there is another way, but we simply follow it. the holy Google knows. So Ksenia, you just how to say an open some idea for my next question is what, since the topic of today's event is focusing on education and AI, so which are the opportunities of AI in education, how we can use it to benefit for education and for the children and learners?
Yes, I think Janice initially provided a short overview of the different types of opportunities. So from the one side, we can say that we can have numerous opportunities, improving that can improve education and learning in general. Education and learning for students, for teachers, it was something that was mentioned in our chat before, and for schools, but the educational system altogether. Just to give you an idea of the importance of this opportunity for education in particular, just to let you know that as part of our work at Demokritos, that contributed to the creation of the National Strategy for AI in Greece, we conduct research also in relation to AI strategies across nations. So we see the huge, let's say, focus on national level strategies in relation to AI, focusing on education. So education is a horizontal policy area, if you want, indicating and denoting the importance that it can have for now, but also for the future. So in my view, AI can be used to improve education and learning, as I said before, but it can be utilized to, in a way, democratize education and personalized learning at scale and for all different countries and individuals across the world. So it can harmonize and bridge the skills gap and education gap. At the same time, it can open up different gaps, but we can discuss more on that. From my perspective, I could provide a sort of approach of the benefits that have to do with different stakeholder segments. So for example, if we are to see the benefits for students, we would say, like Janice mentioned, that we can have personalized learning now. So it can be adaptive to the individual student needs. We can also have enormous access to educational resources and curated educational resources based on our needs. Chat GTP that was mentioned in the chat as well can be seen as another example, as another opportunity, but this also depends on how we approach it really. So it can be seen as a challenge, but also as an opportunity. We can identify, even explore new ways of learning. So AI can be used in an explorative manner in order to facilitate exploratory learning and collaborative learning with other individuals across the world. So imagine how magical it is not to be on your own in this learning path, just in your classroom. Imagine how magical it is to consider and discuss with people, with students having the same questions or needs or educational problems in other countries of the world, even helping each other in a collaborative network. So we can have a lot of bottom-up activities as well. For teachers, AI can be used as a super powerful collaborator as well. So it can facilitate activities that are not as creative or are more repetitive, if you want. So it can provide a lot of time, but it can also facilitate the creation of more creative educational resources for students. And of course, it can provide a very significant tool for identifying, for example, learning problems across students more easily. And lastly, for schools, there can also be numerous benefits, simplifying things, operationalizing different aspects, or integrating new tools and new educational activities more easier in the curricula. I don't want to take too much of your time. I think there are numerous opportunities to be explored. And I would love to hear the rest of our panelists.
Thank you so much, Ksenia. So many examples you have listed, but I will ask Paolo right now, since the Irin and Paolo have been in touch with 300,000 teachers across the Croatia. Actually, there is a hands-on experience already. So my question to you, Paolo, is how far AI is influencing teaching and learning process in schools? But also another question is, are teachers aware of it already?
Yeah, so it's 300,000 children. It's much less teachers. We focus more mainly on teachers.
Children.
We don't have that much teachers in Croatia.
It would be lovely.
So basically, I think at the moment AI is being spoken to as a lot of tools. So people would say they are aware of AI, using AI, but are not actually using AI, are using some tools that were given to them. I think that quite a lot of teachers are completely unaware of everything that's going on, and even less teachers are aware on how they could use AI tools as tools, not as their replacements. I don't think there is going to be a chance or a universe in which the teacher would be completely replaced. I don't think we have to have any fears about that. But teachers have a lot of challenges they need to overcome in their everyday work. Some of those challenges can be done by using AI, definitely. But the main thing at the moment, as far as we are concerned as the Institute, is how to you teach teachers on how to use AI tools at the moment. So there is a lot of tools. Everybody today is speaking about ChatGPT, but it's just one of the tools. Let me share you in the chat a link I found the other day that says there is an AI4that.com. It's a website listing over 1,500 AI applications for 400 different tasks, and just for automating them. Let me give you some examples. For example, you are a teacher and you would like to do an infographic on presentation of a history lesson, for example. So you're not a graphic designer, you don't know how to draw in different tools, so you can just use AI for that, input all the data and generate an infographic. Of course, you need to understand the infographic, you need to see if it's right for your usage, and then you need to present it to teachers. but the opportunities that are here in aiding you as a teacher are huge. And just to also answer a question that has been posed in the chat, Jackson says, does ChatGPT only bring opportunities, or are there challenges it imposes on people? Nothing brings only opportunities. So there are challenges everywhere. I think that at the moment, teachers have much more challenges than opportunities because are unaware of how to use this technology. There's a certain amount of fear from new technologies in general, not only AI. So we have a lot of new materials to produce and a lot of new learning and helping to help our colleague teachers to work with tools that are available now, and that will be available for the next 5 years, growing exponentially, and will be here whether we like it or not, whether we teach about it or not, because the growth of tools in the IT, in electronics, in technical fields is exponential. Unfortunately, from the other hand, the educational system is very slow, and it's a big system, and the speed difference between those two will pose quite a great challenge in the next 5 years, definitely.
Thank you, Paolo, and thank you for monitoring the chat. There is already a comment from Alexandra that there is a lot of challenges in front of teachers. Students often use ChatGPT for not making homework, only copy. Yes, that is so true. And then there is also a question by Anna, but maybe if you want to ask, answer it right now, Paolo, or after, it's up to you.
Okay, let's see. AI make predictions based on data which can be limited and not evenly balanced. How far has AI come to make sure that this data does not reproduce existing structural gaps and take into account students' background, context, emotional health, etc. In the predictions? I would say that I'm not an expert to answer this question, definitely. It may be somebody from the humanics studies. I'm more an engineer type of guy, so I can answer that the data sets that are fed at the moment, for example, to ChatGPT, can easily be updated, and more balanced. Also, ChatGPT and other tools at the moment cannot do changes on themselves. So this is something that we need to be aware of. The data that's being represented is only as good as the data that we put in. So if you put trash in, it goes trash out, of course. Again, humans are in the center of it. The sum of our knowledge and everything we do as a society is being fed to an algorithm that's making some deductions out of it. And we are being represented most probably by the sum of what we are as a civilization.
Thank you, Paolo. This is an excellent introduction to my next question to Dora. Actually, Dora, maybe you can give us your insight on how AI is influencing students' preparedness to live in a democratic society.
Of course, but before maybe to answer to that question, I would like maybe to add some input regarding Anna's question and what Paolo would like to share with us. As we all know, AI tools and applications are learned through examples. So as more data, in order for the forecast to be up to date, we need to be constantly fed with data. This application. So the more data fed into the system, the closer we get to real forecast. This, in my mind, means that we really need to have different disciplines and different collaborations between experts and researchers in this field. Of course, we really need the technical aspect, but we also need the educational or the socio-technical or psychological aspect as well. So as AI, it's something really, timely task. If we would like to talk about a respectful and maybe trustworthy AI system, we need to take that into consideration and try altogether to accept these new change and work together in that direction. Again, focused in the benefits that we can take, because there are benefits, not only threats. On the other side, talking about democratic this preparedness of students to live in democratic society, me and maybe we as teachers, educators, having in my mind the principles of an inclusive and democratic education, we have to ensure the open and equal access to all in the information. So AI specifically and technology in general maybe could ensure this access. Of course, if AI tools in educational context will be designed with an ethical approach. Ethics, that is something that we really have to take into consideration and to be really careful in this aspect. So talking about citizenship education and our mission to prepare active and conscientious citizens, we have to provide them the appropriate knowledge, skills, and values through hands-on experience, which could encourage them to better understand how AI works and what type of bias it contains, and of course, how it can be misused and weaponized. So we can, we can escape from this approach. So if you ask me, I can say that technology must serve and should serve people and contribute to the benefit of the society. So through concrete examples, such as many examples that other projects in any case implement, we have to use it for our benefits and to have to highlight all the European core values, right? Human rights, democracy, the rule of law, and others that education should promote. And we have to cultivate to the youth in general.
Thank you, Dora. Wonderful. Yes, and I'm monitoring the chat. There is a lovely discussion, so please and put your attention also there. Thank you for all for bringing your comments. But also, you open up so many interesting questions, and we've been talking about the opportunities, what actually is happening right now. But also, Ksenia, I would like to ask you now, what are the challenges of AI in education?
I think this discussion is heating up, especially in the chat, and all over. It's all over the place with what we discussed about chat, GTP, etc. So I'll try to make an effort to provide a short synopsis of the potential challenges. But as Dora said, I think this is very crucial. We should consider how to solve these challenges rather than focus only on challenges. Challenges always existed and will always exist. It relies upon us to use in the best possible way that is aligned with ethical values and regulatory frameworks in place, and of course with collaboration at a broader scale. So going to the challenges, there are numerous ethical challenges. So for instance, what was discussed and is in our chat, this element about the biases. So the data that are fed in the algorithms and essentially amplify the biases we have in our society. So in a way, it's a kind of mirror of our society, if you want. In order to change the technology, we need to change ourselves in a way, if I may say so. So what we can do is in order to achieve more unbiased data, is to try to see how we can become more unbiased as society in general. Of course, there are ethical norms and practices in place at different levels. And there are privacy concerns, security concerns. Like, for example, consider all the different tools, how many data they collect in relation to students and teachers, and how everything is used. So this means that all this data remain kind of open in relation to any potential security attacks or misuse, etc., etc. And of course, it was mentioned in the beginning, will AI create job losses? Which is a fear that exists in all fields, to be honest with you. However, AI is not here to replace people, but rather to facilitate and empower people in their daily activities, depending on how ethically and how legally compliant we use it or we plan to use it. And of course, someone could identify also other ethical concerns. Bojana, I really liked your comment in the very beginning that you mentioned about how we rely on technology. So how we tend to consider a new sort of bias, if you want, that technology is always right, whereas humans may make mistakes. And we end up in wrong roads, paths, routes, etc. And consider the following. If we consider this dependence, consider how students may feel when they go and write ChatGPT and they get an answer, which they think that differs from their answer, and they take it for granted that it's the AI's answer, which is correct. So, and just to give a discussion. So, we tend to become more reliant on technology, and we tend to leave our own skills of critical thinking, problem solving, etc. So one wonders how we should go about it. So in that front, of course, we should say that, first of all, European Union, UNESCO, the Council of Europe, very many different initiatives around the world exist, both to address the ethical AI issues, but also the regulatory frameworks that should be in place in order to solve all these challenges. However, what we need to consider, in my view, is to consider how we can build an AI culture that is different, that differs. In the chat, it was mentioned that AI is turning teachers into learners. This is part of the new AI culture. We need to change the way we perceive things. We need to focus on our core elements and strong abilities. And this should be conveyed to students, because at the end of the day, education is the power to change the world. It's not only AI. Education with AI could have tremendous potential and facilitate more engaging learning experience throughout our lives.
You partly answered already the one of the questions in the chat, since you are involved into the development of Greek national strategy for AI. Maybe you can answer this question. So what about the policies and regulatory frameworks? What is in place? Those particularly which are connected with public services as education and health. How this process is going right now?
Yeah, exactly. As I said, the European Union has already, since 2019, has set the European ethics guidelines for trustworthy AI that essentially set and provide a framework for defining trustworthy AI. Based on these ethical principles, we were presented in 2021 with a proposal for European horizontal regulation for AI. So this is a horizontal regulation for AI across different areas, and it kind of differentiates between the risk level of AI systems in order to regulate them. So for now, we know that the European Parliament will vote this proposal by the end of March 2023. So this means that we will very soon have a regulation in place for the European Union that will cover all providers and users of AI systems, covering both public services as well as education and health. Education, just to say, and vocational training is part of the high-risk area, so additional measures and regulatory frameworks will be integrated in order to ensure that everything is conducted in compliance with the rule of law and the human-centric, trustworthy perspective of the European Commission. I just also want to note here that UNESCO is doing a significant work in this area. So since 2019, we had the Beijing consensus on AI in education, trying to integrate and provide a consensus around the benefits that AI can bring to education for all, without discriminating and providing high quality education for everyone. And of course, this, not only in education, but AI in general, was followed up by the recommendation of AI, which is the first ever global recommendation on AI signed by 100 and almost 200 member states across the world, which is a significant importance for these harmonized elements in education and AI.
Excellent. Thank you, Ksenia. So really, it warms my heart to be aware that we are organizing this very timely, since the voting in European Parliament will be next month. And thank you for all the input. And also, you mentioned that about the UNESCO work, and that reminds me to SDG, particularly SDG 4, quality education for all. So I have a question now for Dora, since you've been working a lot with inclusion. My question to you goes to how AI is influencing inclusion. Do you see any greater influence, benefits, or challenges in this field, since you've been working a lot with refugee and migrant children in Greece?
Yes, thank you, Bojana. Actually, I just read Michaela's comment in the chat, that she writes that I don't think that AI can teach empathy, compassion, and emotions. Maybe I'm wrong. And of course, you're not wrong, Michaela. This is teachers, educators' role to teach the students how to be more empathetic and more close to the others. So Ksenia before talked about values, and the values should be a really, how to say, a really important aspect of AI education, of teaching maybe AI in education. So all this big discussion about this ChatGPT or other similar tools, it's really, there is actually this big discussion about all this, because the teachers, educators feel threatened for their role and their contribution in that educational process. But however, as already mentioned, AI and the technology in general, it's here to serve the teachers, the human beings, not to make them to feel threatened. So if we technology, and it's something that we are well experienced during the pandemic, gave us the opportunity to have access to some meetings, even to the educational process. So through technology, we could ensure somehow the inclusion. Everybody had access, and this, what I'm saying is that also included also groups who are experiencing somehow exclusion for various reasons. For example, they had difficulty in getting around or living in remote areas, etc. So at that point, technology is here to serve, to provide us an opportunity and access that we couldn't have in another case. And at the same time, the involvement of AI technology in the teaching context could also make the educational process more interesting and more attractive for the students themselves. Times are changing, and those of us who are really involved with young people, we have to follow the new trends if we would like to stay close to them. Our goal is to make learning a choice for all students, not an obligation. And the only way to achieve this is to tailor it to their needs, to their interests. In that point, if I may express my opinion, a chatbot could become a useful assistant for the teachers, educators, and a really interesting way of engagement of the students to approach the knowledge by themselves, following somehow the approach learning by doing. So in that point, if we can say inclusion could be ensured, or maybe could highlight it through AI, specifically, and the technology in general, because don't forget that we use AI, but AI, it's just technology, and technology is here from the past. It's not something
Excellent.
new.
Excellent. Thank you, Dora. So I'm
Thank you.
following the chat. It's wonderful. It's heating up. So Paolo, you mentioned in your previous discussion that teachers are not to be replaced. I think this is what every teacher should hear every day. But also, since Irim is working a lot with the schools and the teachers, can you tell us briefly, is there any useful introduction training for teachers to help them to deal with it? What is your experience with that?
Yeah, so basically, we'll just need to refocus on what we are teaching in the system and how we are doing it. Just under quotes, of course. As for the first steps, there are some first steps depending on your background. I think a very good first step for everybody would be to acquire AI literacy. So to be able to be literate in AI, to see what AI really is, to determine if a system that you're seeing is really AI or is not from the technological standpoint, but from a perspective standpoint. And an open course that got almost 1 million people subscribed is Elements of AI, which has been available for quite some time. I'll post everything in the chat later on. I prepared a few links for you. Then again, there are numerous courses on AI, depending on your background. And we also did some preliminary work with WEC and Oksana, where we developed in a joint project some basics on AI, using AI, the impact of AI in society, and also some hands-on teachings on how to use AI and robotic vision as STEM, with STEM equipment to teach children on how to use those tools. Everything is freely available on the EWC site and also on our website from Creation Makers in Creation. I'll post the links in the chat and the discussion.
Thank you, Paolo. But just short question: what is your opinion? Is language capabilities by the teachers can influence this process of learning? Because many courses are available in English, except this one that you mentioned in that you will post in the chat, which is in Croatian language. But is that a language gap might influence the training of teachers to use AI?
Well, yeah, in some way, yes, but this is a general question and not pointed to AI. So basically what happens is the vast available knowledge is in English. So if you only wanted to learn about your profession in your own language, if it's not English or some language that's spoken like German or French or something, if you're from Croatia and don't understand English, then you're in bigger trouble than you are with AI, because you will not be able to get fresh info from anywhere. Using today's tools, it's quite easy to get materials translated. The Elements of AI is also available in many languages, I think 20+ languages. So it's another tool that can be used in your language. But English is being treated as a must-have tool in your tool set today to be a good teacher, because a lot of available materials are being published only in English.
Thank you, Paolo.
Basically...
Sorry. Yep.
I'm sorry.
There is a wonderful comment by Oksana. Maybe we'll use AI to translate it.
Yeah. This is also because of economical reasons. Nobody wants to reprint books for like, I don't know, 100,000 teachers in Croatia, because it's impossible to do it. Also, if you do it in your own language, if you only read in your own language, you're kind of isolating yourself from the vast amount of knowledge that's out there. So it's not maybe the best thing to do.
Yeah, thank you, Paul, and thank you all. And my final
You're
question
welcome.
for all of you is: will AI challenge us to rethink the education? What do you think? How the education process will look like in 20 years? Dora, maybe you would like to answer first, or Ksenia or Paul, whatever.
Of course. And first of all, I would like, if I may, to share an experience with you, because we were talking before about languages. that technology helped us, for example, in the refugee education field, helped the refugee students to better understand the Greek language in the class. They had their mobile phone, they used these online translators, apps, and they managed even to scan the exercise and to take it translated, even to look for language, for specific words. So this for us was great because we found a way somehow to work with this barrier, this language barrier. So generally speaking, if will AI challenge us to rethink education, the answer, there is no doubt about it. The answer is absolutely yes. And if we talk about a democratic and inclusive education, we have to follow a more holistic approach. And talking about AI and education through different approaches. We have to talk about education learning about AI, which includes AI literacy, considering the human dimensions, and the technological dimension of that. And at the same time, we have to talk about education with AI. We have to use all these applications just to be part of the teaching or learning process. So if I may, I would like just to share with you the thought that it's time to move to the next stage where AI should be part of our classroom teaching process and not just to stay like a topic of discussion at the break time.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dora. Wonderful answer and wonderful example from the field, actually, how AI is helping improve education for, in this case, migrant children. Wonderful example. Ksenia, what do you think? Are we going to rethink education and how?
I think everyone in this discussion today, because our participants are really active and this is really nice to see such a vibrant community engaged. I think we tend to agree on that this change has already happened in a way. So we are already slightly opening up our minds and perspectives in order to see this transformation that is also underway. ChatGPT is just something that enables us to reflect more on what is here already, but we tend to or prefer not to see so clearly. So I would like to ask ourselves, how did we react when the calculator was introduced in the classroom, for example? We always have a choice to exclude it, or to adopt it aligned with our regulatory frameworks, with our ethical guidelines, and of course with a lot of preparation in order to adopt this AI culture that I said before. This AI culture should be part of the education. AI literacy that Paolo mentioned and Dora is a critical part. We need also to consider education about AI ethical perspectives and how it may impact our futures. We need to be aware about this. We need to discuss it openly and freely. We need to educate ourselves, all of us, all the time. And this is an interesting journey of learning for all of us. Something I forgot to mention when we were discussing before about the European Commission and the different activities is that the European Commission has issued, as a matter of fact, ethical guidelines for the use of AI in education during last year, October or November 2022, if I'm not mistaken, and it's openly available. So we see that there are a lot of activities out there. And we need to stay aware of everything. And on top of everything, just to conclude, I would say that it is important to refocus not on facts, on learning simple facts and doing homeworks like in the classical way, but try to consider how we can be more creative, more adopting more critical thinking and problem-solving skills. More interesting and engaging way to explore new fields and new thematic areas. This is what will be needed. Sometimes I tell my sons, because I have two sons, that in the future what will be important is to ask the best question, not to get the best answer.
Yes, excellent. Yes, asking the questions, right questions, is the skill actually that we all should master. Thank you, Ksenia, for sharing. And also, Paolo, how do you see the education in the next 20 years? How it will look like?
Yeah, 20 years is a big period, definitely. So I don't know. In 5 years, I hope everybody will just be clear that AI is here to stay, and nobody will try to say, oh, it's not there, we'll not use it, we'll just talk about something else. What I would like to see is an educational system that doesn't only memorize facts, an educational system that's based on discussion, an educational system that's not only here to teach us the outcomes that were done by somebody else, that thinks we all need to do the same things and know the same things. And teachers, what I would really like is for teachers to be a much more respected part of our communities, because want it or not, most probably they're spending more time with our children than we are.
Yes, thank you, Paolo. This is a wonderfully said, and we must not forget the role of the teachers. Right. They are the one that creates the magic in the classroom.
Yeah, they are.
Yes, thank you about that. And on the final part of our webinar today, actually we would love to present something that we believe that it will help teachers to deal with AI in education, and to, when these questions are raised in the classroom, there is something really we believe it can help them. So my final speaker today is my dear colleague, and I would dare to say a friend, Oksana Pasichnik, from Lviv, Ukraine. Oksana is teaching computer science in Lyceum Shchehiv in Lviv for 20 years. Also, Oksana is contributing to the work of the European Wergeland Center as an online learning consultant, developing and supporting online resources and courses. Also, Oksana, as a Council of Europe Digital Citizenship Education Promoter, she is conducting and supporting activities aimed at active, positive, and responsible engagement of students with technology. Oksana is a member of the National Curriculum Development Team of Ukraine, focusing on the subject of area of computer science as well as transversal digital competency. So Oksana is an author also of the one very interested, I would dare to say, a manual for the teachers on impact on the AI in classrooms and in education. So Oksana, I will stop here and give you the floor.
Thank you, Bojana, and thank you everyone for such a wonderful panel. It's been really engaging to think about the issues you have raised and actually engage in the discussion in the chat. I really hope this conversation will continue. We have seen that today's topic is really not about the technology. You know, it's not about the technology itself. It's about the technology and society, digital and human. And as we have come to conclude in the panel, AI is a kind of technology that challenges us to think about what human intelligence is, not only artificial intelligence, what education is, what the aim of education is, of what the value of education is. And it is a huge, huge conversation, because we are not done with human education, with human intelligence, to start working on artificial one. We really have a lot to do in this area. And I really hope that our conversation today will just be an opening for further research in this area. We've heard that there are multiple challenges, multiple stakeholders, multiple points of view when we talk about AI in education. And when we speak about that and we present the work we have created, and I hope we can have a PowerPoint.
The link is already there, yeah.
Okay, thank you. The curriculum for primary school students, and somebody may ask, why would we be doing this? Primary school children are far away from these huge topics we have been discussing today. But really, the primary school students of today are the ones who are going to face these problems in the future, full scale. Maybe some of us will not see the full implementation of AI in the classroom, but I'm pretty sure that today's students are going to be the ones who are going to be influenced by artificial intelligence in many areas of their lives. So we cannot fail them in preparation for that. We cannot let them be unprepared for the age of AI. And that's why we have created this curriculum to open the conversation with our primary school students. Our curriculum, it contains some general information about how to talk about artificial intelligence with young students, and also some practical activities. We know very well that students love hands-on activities, and it is very good if we provide them environment in which they can do something practical. But on the other hand, the topics on artificial intelligence really tend to be the ones that provoke discussion, that provoke conversations. And that is something that is really in focus of our curriculum. We try to make sure that we create a space for open discussion, for open conversation, some unplugged activities, activities that don't require any technology or computers or anything like that. Also, we know that teachers have a lot on their plates. And if we ask them to talk about artificial intelligence with their students, many teachers will say that, oh, it's another topic we need to discuss. It's another topic we need to teach, and something we are not prepared to do because we didn't have this subject in our teaching universities. So another aim of this curriculum is to help teachers understand this topic, to help teachers not be afraid of teaching this in their classrooms, of talking with their students about artificial intelligence in their classrooms. So this is something that can be done by any teacher, and you don't require any technological knowledge or programming skills or some extra technology in your classroom to start this conversation, really. It is just general awareness of the world we are living in. Everything you've heard from the internet about ChatGPT, or actually your own experience of using artificial intelligence systems like predictions for YouTube videos or voice typing or any other kind of everyday activity you might do that involves using AI. We came to a moment when this technology can be really overwhelming. It can be threatening and disrupting. That's why we think that our curriculum will be a nice starting point to really dive into this topic. Really think about it, think about how the mechanics of how AI works without getting too deep into technical or programming skills. I really like this material to be used by teachers first, and then to help them to guide their students to explore these topics. It is like with the airplane masks for oxygen. First you help yourself and then you assist the child. First, we need to be comfortable with this topic for ourselves. We need to be aware of how this technology works actually. And then we will be less nervous talking about it with our students. So another thing about this curriculum is the fact that I think that this challenge we are facing now with artificial intelligence in education, some schools are banning it, some schools are saying we are not going to use it, some schools are embracing it and maybe facing some other challenges with this decision. It is neither the first nor the last challenge or controversy we will see in education. And I would really like our teachers to know how to deal with these new technologies, the technologies that can be controversial, the technologies that will definitely have both opportunities and risks. and learn how to deal with this when this new technology arrives, because I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot of them arriving in the future as well. So I'd like to see the artificial intelligence as a tool to highlight the challenges that we have in education at the moment. And it's not so much about cheating or other problems that are being raised. It is more about the nature of assignments that we do in schools. This is more about the nature of education and the value of it than about the actual technology behind the scenes. When we talk about this curriculum on the next slide, it is way more about humans, about society, about citizenship, way more than about coding or digital skills or ICT literacy. We propose a lot of activities on interactive discussions. We propose to work with some concrete objects, because primary school students definitely like working with real objects. Therefore, we propose the following process of learning. First, kids get a chance to discuss and think about some suggested phenomenon or situation. They really have this in their own experience, because in many cases, they are already users of AI technology in some way. Then they think about it and share their ideas in smaller groups. After that, it is time to discuss in a larger group, and a very important stage of this whole process, reflect on the topic. This way, we engage both individual thinking and also group discussions, communication with peers. And this is something very natural for our students to do. This is the way their lessons are, or maybe should be structured, less writing or taking notes or sitting in rows, but rather discussing and exploring some interesting topics for them. It is very important to notice that our curriculum is based on the competencies for democratic culture, because we know that this topic of artificial intelligence in society cannot be talked about without the society, without the civic-minded attitude. We know that we will definitely see some controversies, some issues that will not have a single correct answer. That's why we will definitely practice some empathy, some respect for opinions of others, tolerance of ambiguity, tolerance of the fact that we need to be flexible and adapt to new situations and new tools. These things that I'm mentioning, these are not about the technology itself. It's about the human beings. It's about our behavior and our competencies to live in a democratic culture. We know that European Wergeland Center is really specializing in education for democracy and human rights. And that's why we couldn't miss the opportunity to highlight these competencies for democratic culture in this curriculum. One might wonder what kind of AI topics are really worth to talk about with primary school students. What can be relevant, engaging, and educational for young learners. And we know that students love exploring, and they love learning how stuff works. That's why we structured our discussion around actually how AI works on the level that primary school students can understand and can relate. We prepared a list of proposed activities, which basically represent different steps of how AI is functioning. Because it's very important to rely on what students already know or they think they know about artificial intelligence or any other topic, actually. Even small kids have used voice typing. They've heard about self-driving cars. They have seen suggestions while browsing the web and watching YouTube videos. Definitely, they can have some ideas about how they think it functions. Maybe some students will say that there is actually someone writing the answers, or someone is driving the self-driving car behind the scene. But actually, when we start this conversation, more or less quickly, we come to the conclusion that it's actually the technology. And we start to think what is needed in order to make this technology work. What is needed to drive a car? What is needed to provide a recommendation of a gift, for example, for your friend? And we come to the conclusion that we need data to do this kind of activities, to do this kind of decisions or predictions. So we are talking about data that we are using from outside world by using different kind of sensors, or we are getting data from the actions that people are actually doing. And it is a very important conversation, especially today. It's a Safer Internet Day, when we can talk about the safety of our behavior online. What can be gathered from our actions by different systems, what is safe to do and what is not so much, how we should treat our data, how we should treat the data of others. These all are very important conversations for primary school students. It's not so much about specific algorithms or specific programs, specific software. It is more general awareness. And that's what I would like to highlight. We need to talk and discuss the topics that are really relevant to our students to make sure that they are safe in this world that is around them, around us as well. After we get some data, this data needs to be sorted. It can be grouped into categories and some patterns can be revealed. And this exercise of trying to find the pattern, try to spot the similarities, try to name the categories of the objects that there are in the group. It is actually a very typical exercise primary school students are doing. You can find it in many textbooks they are using. But we offer a little step further. It's not just to categorize some objects, but think about what it means when we categorize those objects. And we propose to do that on a very specific, concrete examples of geometrical shapes, or actually sorting the pasta, which is really exciting for students because it's another question. Which pasta is the right one, which pasta are they going to eat, or which pasta is banned from their ratio, which is also, again, shows the importance of those questions to our students, and making sure that the conversations are not just for the benefit of adults of educational system, but rather to discuss something that is interesting for the students as well. And when we are talking about this pattern recognition, because that's what it is, speaking scientific language, students learn that sometimes when we see a new object, it is really difficult to categorize it into previously known categories. And it is very important to know that when we are making the decision about which category the new object is going, this decision is really based on the data we have seen before. This is where we can talk about bias. This is where we can talk about the quality of the data that we are getting from the outside world. This is when we can really mention that artificial intelligence algorithms are really not creating something new. They are actually creating something similar to what they've seen already. And if we are seeing something that we don't like in the result, in the output, then maybe it is not the problem of the algorithm. It's not the problem of technology. It's not the problem that technology has created. It is rather the fact that it was in the data, it was in the previous behavior, it was in the pattern. And this is something we really should be mindful about and think about it before we jump into some conclusions. When we discussed many challenges that artificial intelligence is bringing into education, many times we hear about the cheating, about ChatGPT or other algorithms used by students to produce something that they may think as original content, but when they really learn that it is not original, it is just repeating something that was being done before, then we can really talk about creativity and what it means to create something. It's not copying anything that was done previously. And while we as teachers certainly feel that our field is changing by AI, I think we can relate to many other fields as well. We can imagine that the impact on other fields will also be as profound as it is on education. And this is something our primary school students are going to live with. They're going to invent their new professions. They're going to invent new areas to apply their skills, their creativity, their talents, their dreams. So they need to be aware of the opportunities there are in this world around them. Also, I think it is very important to teach our students to be really critical about what is produced by AI, or maybe not produced by AI. It doesn't matter who produced a piece of information. It is still very important to be critical about it, to critically think about everything you hear, to be able to judge misinformation, disinformation, because those are skills that are really important. And again, when we talk about these skills, it's not about the technology itself. It's not about the programming language or specific device. It's about how to be really a human in the age of artificial systems. We need to make sure that students are ready to meet new technologies, the ones that are not here today. Maybe we will see some quantum computers in some years to come. Maybe we will see some other kinds of technology disrupting our lives. And we need our students to be critical consumers of this technology, but also critical creators of it, because they are the ones who are going to create those new technologies. They need to think about these technologies holistically, not just from the point of view that I know this programming language and I can do this. It's more about how is it going to impact my life? How is it going to impact the life of others? How is it going to create a better society that everyone would want to live in? That's why we really need to see the topic of artificial intelligence, not only from the technological point of view, but also from the philosophical, from the democratic point of view. At the same time, as Paolo mentioned, this curriculum was developed as a part of a bigger project, AI in STEM education, when students actually get the opportunity to work with some devices, to learn how they function. And it actually brings together two very important topics, two very important areas. On the next slide, you can even see how students are kind of playing with their robots and making sure that this is not something they fear. This is not something that they are just using. This is something they are actively engaged with. So it's very nice to have these conversations aligned with some hands-on activities, because definitely our students love practical activities. It is very nice to combine digital competence with competences for democratic culture. And I think this is where actually the topic of digital citizenship arises, because it ties together the values, attitudes, skills, also with knowledge and critical understanding, which are all necessary to responsibly navigate the constantly evolving digital world. And we would like our students to shape the technology rather than to be just shaped by it. And it is very important for them to have those ethical lens through which they are going to see the world of today and the world of tomorrow as well. And on the final note, if you would like to learn more about digital citizenship in general, and of course about artificial intelligence and its impact on society and education, please, you're welcome on the European Berkland Center online learning platform, where you can find the course of on digital citizenship education. And I know that we've seen some authors of this course present on this webinar. And there will be some more materials coming soon. And I really hope that our curriculum, our proposed material will help you to think about artificial intelligence, not as of something scary, not as of something threatening teaching or threatening education, but rather empowering. And hopefully it will give you some tools to include the conversation about artificial intelligence and its impact on society into your teaching and conversation with your students. On this, I would like to conclude my little speech and maybe try to look into the chat with some maybe questions.
Thank you, Oksana. Wonderful. And there is already a direct link in the chat, which will lead you directly to this publication, which is very handy and super easy to use. And all you have to do as a teacher is just read it and copy, and then simply go and discuss with your students. And I'm sure that each of you who will test it will have a different result, because it's based on discussion and on the how humans, actually the little children, are understanding this. There have been some interesting comments in the chat. Thank you, Paolo. It's direct links for those who wants to learn more. And also there was an interesting comment by Ivana Pleshe that which is based on the need for cross curricula, I would say, and cross different school subjects cooperation, especially between the teachers. And there is a lot of potential in it. And thank you for all the comments. Is there any specific question to Oksana and to the manual for the teachers? You can just raise a hand, or if you prefer, you can talk or write in the chat.
I guess you should try to use it, and then you will have some comments.
Yes, excellent. It's already late in the afternoon, and I think that all of the participants are now already in the mood for let's have a dinner. And I will just conclude this session by thanking you all for your insights and sharing with us. Also, I would like to add that here we counted participants from 11 different countries, maybe more. I'm not aware of the situation on the Facebook, but it's wonderful. So it really proves that the topic is interesting, and we open up so many interesting questions. And with your help, we provided some thoughts. But as a conclusion, I can say that artificial intelligence is here around us, and now it's up to us to take the best of it and to use it in a way to provide a good education for all. I would also like to thank to my colleague Marta, who is behind the engine and who really helped us and navigate us in a technical way that everything goes smoothly, and also my colleague Paulina, who is leading this session on the Facebook. And thank you all. Don't forget to go to the European Wergeland Center website and to explore not only this publication, but the others, but also thank Paolo and all the other participants who shared a lot of links. I'm sure that all of us will learn a lot in the future. And I would thank you all for your participation and wish you a lovely evening. All the best to all
Thank
of you.
you. Thank you a lot.
Very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Viana.